to see Maisie not first picked, but overall, not really shocking to see her picked in general.
Yeah, I mean, Melody here, I mean, the notes are going to shine through the bush. That's my one concern with that. There's no real synergy. You know, we tend to kind of see a lot of Gus with synergies with Melody and that kind of thing. Of course, she's got her own gadget for that, and she can bring the shield to the party. But yeah, the Maisie, I quite like it. I mean, and I wouldn't really necessarily find myself saying that at the start of 2025, but I think that we will see a bit more of Maisie coming through as well. I think certainly this is her best mode, so I don't mind it for that reason. I think in the right hands, Maisie can be fantastic in Brawl, but let's see if it is going to work out well on the side then of Reject. It's going to be Shu on the left-hand side playing the Maisie and the Melody in the mid. But again, Batman is visible to the entirety of the squad every time he's in that bush. So I really kind of want to see how this Melody is going to fare on the aggressiveness of things, because that's where he's got to shine.
Oh man, okay, as soon as Reject try to go aggro, they're stopped by Creo. Now Chovy playing the defense, avoiding a lot of the damage, but taken down by Melty, and no gadget on standby for Mameshi. Even though he did have that attack, he used it right before he died. Now the speed in Creo, trying to break open some of the walls, wide open passageway, but NIWA cannot take advantage of it. They just don't have the gas to keep going.
I don't really get that decision making. He had the shot, but I don't know why he would have gadgeted. Maybe trying to save them for later on in the game, but he's put one now, and that's the terrible time to do the same thing again, because the opposition are going to see it coming. If he can time it, though, he can still utilize it, but now aggressed by Batman, forced back in the end. Still holding onto that gadget in the bush, and let's see whether he can make something of it as Priya now creeping forward, trying to find something of a connection, and there's the ball! The line by Melty. And it's going to be a good defense there from Reject, pushing it forward as well. They may be able to get a goal from this scenario.
Oh, the last hurrah, an attempt in a snipe in the left side of the goal from Battleman. Nicely done. That was insane, honestly, to find the connection there. I think there may have been a goal, actually, maybe off camera, perhaps, going into that game, and maybe it's thrown us off a little bit coming in, but nonetheless, it's a good game there for Reject, able to make the moments count. But yeah, some mistakes, some very early mistakes shining through for me on the side of NIWA. Gonna have to iron these things out very quickly as Crew getting so heavily aggressive by Melty, and again, Batman knows it. Going in with a super already gets taken care of that mid. Now, Chovy's gonna be the next to be aggressive. He goes down equally as quickly. Reject are already taking care of business right now. Man, they're doing a nice job of occupying these bushes. Doesn't matter that their opponents are invisible. They, they got their vision gears ready to go. They got the range matchup on lock. Feeling pretty good about it. You have to wait for the next push in from NIWA, but they might not even get the chance. The invis down from Mameshi, the speed out from Chovy, giving it everything they've got for this final one. Shu with a dash in, but Chovy dashes out. Can't get the ball in time, and it's a goal for Reject.
Solid stuff. The battle for the mid commences once again. Priya now has was a bit. Look at that! Look how quickly he was taken care of there. The threat really was diffused. Now that left-hand side is where NIWA are focused. They've got to find Batman taken care of, because when he dashes forwards, it's gonna be a scary situation with the hypercharge. Now the Creo is going to come in quite useful here, popping it very prematurely, going to be doing nothing but clearing bush, and Shu's response is absolutely timed to perfection. Everyone falls, and Reject stand. Lovely, lovely stuff. And that is the set.
Reject close it out. Totally shut it down.
Put Melty on screen more. That was like elegant. I like watching like an anime protagonist just crushing it in this game. So casual.
It's aura farming over here.
You can see why. This is me, Reddy, talking over you, by the way. I'm sorry. I'm really excited about this matchup, but I want to hear what you have to say about these numbers.
Sure, I mean, I can tell you about Maisie churning out just nutty DPS. You have brawlers pushing into her, and she shrugs them right off. Maisie, like, her damage just for one shot is insane. She's able to almost two-shot a Sandy in a lot of situations if he's like just barely under max health. That is a matchup that went really, really well for her in this specific game, given that NIWA went with their Sandy.
Wow, already
things are kicking off, but Reject looked very comfortable, gotta be honest. I mean, I didn't really kind of see too much of an opening for NIWA, and just big mistakes all round. I mean, like, they just didn't seem like they were very comfortable in their own skin. Gadgets being popped and not really utilized, and just, you know, they just didn't really feel like, to me, they had much to really say for it. It was all Reject. You know, when there was moments of potentially a push, diffused equally as quickly, and the aggressiveness that followed led to the goal time and time again. So I'm going to go out there and say it. I'm yet to see much from NIWA that makes me that comfortable that they're going to be able to bring things back. They've got to do better in layer cake and shoot and bounty up next, because that's just not it.
Would you say an intimidation factor here from Reject? Would you say, you know, NIWA still finding their feet? What have you seen from NIWA that'll show you whether or not they'll be able to kind of pull this together, or whether this is kind of typical of why they haven't made it further in these events?
I think for me, just a lack of experience certainly comes into the equation. I think going up against a team like Reject is quite a daunting prospect when, you know, Shu and Melty have got LAN experience. I mean, that's something that really is not that present. I mean, Memeshi just a little tiny bit. You know, remember LCQ in 2023, but, you know, it's something which can really start to grind on players when the nerves start to hit, you know. And yes, you know, the players are at home, and it looks like Cho's got a tent in his room. I love that. I love the vibe. I mean, the guy's literally just making his own little fort. But certainly, yeah, I mean, you can be comfortable, but you know, the whole point of the most competitive level of Brawl is to make your opposition feel as uncomfortable as possible. And that's what Reject are doing really, really well. They are much more within their own skin, and that draft was a banger. Can't lie. As we go into the bounty and layer cake, though, a new one will follow in. Great to see layer cake as well coming in really back into the mix. One of those that I've kind of missed in bounty a little bit. I mean, back in the day, this was like one of the first maps that we ever saw in Brawl Competitive in 2022. For me, I really loved enjoying watching Gie with some fantastic snipes in this particular map. But draft coming in, Shade, Berry, and the Kit. Again, Kit banned now, finally, by Reject. Nice to see that actually being taken into account, considering how highly it's played in this region. Lou, Larry and Laurie, and the Grey in the first draft. Juju, I think that's a really good first pick Brawl to have on this map.
I mean, it's basically forced at this point, right? If you're NIWA over here, you get the benefit of being able to ban out some of those like good 2-3 counter brawlers. But the caveat is that you gotta go for the strongest thing in the game as your first selection, and so that's one brawler already locked down for you. You also don't get the last counter, so it can be a bit of a tougher side of the draft to play here. Now Reject have the 2-3, Melody already coming in with the aggro. So NIWA have to assess how defensively they're gonna play here into the Melody. She can get in and out so effectively. Not really gonna be good in the mid-range matchup. Her DPS, outside of being able to dash on someone, it's just really, really poor. But the mobility towards the end of the game can be paramount for clutching up. Janet, also, super solid selection here, just straight up one of the best brawlers in the game with a hypercharge. It's ridiculous DPS, movement, all the above.
Really liking Janet as an option. Not sure that it's maybe the best map and mode for it, but certainly, you know, in those late stages when you're really pushed up against the wall and your opposition's really driving that aggression, she's a brawler that can just bring out the stars safely back, and you can have your teammates actually kind of deflate the push early, prematurely, and ensure that you're the last man to be able to bring back some goods. Buster is very interesting. Not necessarily sure whether it's got the best synergy. Certainly, you can shield the Gene forwards and then allow that magic hand to bring back something, and then it does allow for some swift takedowns in that kind of regard. But you know, it can be a bit of a loose pair of hands sometimes. Grom going to be the final pick on the side of Reject. They do have to have a thrower, I guess, on some level. And you know, I don't know about you, Reddy, but when it's Grom and I'm playing against it, it lands a shot at me every single time. Nowhere that I can go to avoid the Grom shots. But in competitive, I don't know whether it's necessarily one of the hardest brawlers for people to really work around. I think that it might not be nearly as prominent as that Juju pick, but it's in the hands of Reject. And, you know, that gives me more confidence because NIWA haven't really done much to really, you know, sway me otherwise.
Yeah, I think the shots can be a little more challenging to hit in competitive. Players are just better at juking and dodging in specific ways, knowing exactly where the terrain is going to put them into a situation where they can't dodge things out. I think one of there are a couple big reasons for Grom here. First of all, you got to have a response to Juju. Second of all, you got to have a way of blocking this gene pull. And we'll probably find out in a moment what Shu is going to opt for, but I would say way more likely than not, he's gone for Watchtower here to block a pull from Chovy. There's that blue star as well, just checking the bushes right now, making sure that they hold on to that control. But it's only a matter of time before NIWA acquired this Buster Super, and then they're able to push in as a result. Also, only a matter of time before Chovy gets his magic hand and can pull a vulnerable brawler. At the moment, it's looking like just Batoman.
How are you feeling about these drafts? I mean, I'm not really convinced on Melody in so many of these maps and modes. I mean, I would always be looking to get Melody first pick in Heist. But I haven't really kind of seen a lot of the other regions playing it in many other places. But it seems like Rejects really are quite adamant to make it work. And to be fair to them in the first set, it did. But, you know, in Bounty, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. You know, you can go in and get some great results and come back out, go on the aggressive, and has that escape mechanism as the Janet. So I get it. But I just don't think it's necessarily as good in the meta right now.
Okay, well, we did see the Melody get pulled. She was the one brawler of the team that couldn't block things in. Bit of a poorly placed landing there from Janet, who came down to the ground on the enemy side, completely vulnerable. Here comes Melty in with the hypercharge. Getting lots of damage, can sit right on top of Chovy, who's juking for a little bit, but in the end, Janet will always get her win. Take down on Shu. 20 seconds left to go for Reject to start bringing this back. And I'll be honest, I'm a Melody minion. I think Melody can really cook here, but we just got to see the hypercharge action, and 10 seconds is not enough to get that in there. The Reject are going to give it their all. You got 5 seconds left to go. Not a whole lot of DPS. Shu's going to give it his all. Everyone's backed into the back right corner. Not a good look. Batoman can't get in there either. 1 kill for Reject, but that's all they get.
That's what we want to see more of, isn't it, really? Nice stuff coming forwards, and a glimmer of hope. But let's see whether they can actually maintain it. For me, there towards the end, could have been a lot of stars, but just wasn't quite the time, and that was the issue. But certainly much better for the most part. NIWA has to get 1 on the board. Blue star very quickly into the hands, then again of that Buster pick. I think we're going to see probably Reject go a bit more on the aggressiveness now, already pushing back NIWA into the back lines, but we've got to come back out with the stars, stay standing and not go over aggressive. That's what I've kind of seen for the majority of the day being the issue. Right side, Ramesh is very weak, but Shu didn't want to go for it. Just went and just started focusing on the left-hand side instead. Keeping the aggression on though, Ramesh is still pushed back, and now Bataman's coming in, gets 1. Chovy goes down, and then follow up there as well to Ramesh. Nice stuff as Reject take the lead.
Beautiful shot placement from She. We'll see Battleman get pulled again. It's the second time it's happened, but he's really the only pullable person. With Melty throwing down a gadget of his, though, it's going to be on cooldown. I want to give props to Shu. Holy hypercharge in from Battleman! That's 2! Can't go in for Creo, but he's still got Super to hang on to for another push in, but he might actually just opt to not do that at all. Okay, bit of a preemptive gadget there from Shu. It gets Jean to back up, but I think Shu was a little just scared that he was going to get pulled by Chovy.
Yeah, I think that's not the worst way to play, is it, though? It's good to keep your distance. I like the Bataman's reservations there as well. Didn't kind of go in onto the Buster too aggressively, just chose to come back, and he would have fallen and gone down. I mean, that gadget pop would have been too quick, and he would have gone down in 1 shot, really. So there are some good signs being displayed on the side of Reject that they're not getting overly aggressive. They've got the lead, they don't want to lose it, and you know, 1 singular takedown. The blue star is with NIWA, however, so Melty can fall in that regard, but let's see. Time's ticking, 15 seconds on the clock now, and a push coming in. That Buster shield's gonna be prevalent here for Creo on the left-hand side as well, and it can't be long before it comes out.
Not much time. Chovy's hanging on his hypercharge, knows he can get Melty now, but he takes to the sky. There's 1, and it's only onto the watchtower. 1 second to go, and Reject continue to cement their win and take things back.
Imagine that you got a hypercharge for Eugene and you got 2 players on the map. One's in the air, and the only thing you bring back is the watchtower. Are you serious? Like, hypercharge Gene is just like one of those things that we've only ever seen blunders with for the past year since it's been in the game, isn't it? I mean, the amount of monthly finals that I can count on my hands where we've seen a team actually kind of like, you know, fall as opposed to come back with some goods there. But I mean, we're all tied up. I want to see NIWA get this set. I want to see it all tied up into the next set and really give Reject a run for their money. At the moment, though, it's Reject that are learning a bit more from their mistakes. They are behind by 1 star, but again, not a bad start in that mid area. Ramesh on the left-hand side, creeping forwards. Bataman going on the aggressive. There's the Gree, and that's going to force then him back. And it has given themselves a better position, though, in this mid. Bomb goes in, and some good value for it as well.
The Meshi in the same position on the right side. Ooh, Creo taken down on the left side. Chovy also vulnerable. Shu has to back away. Doesn't want to get pulled by Creo. Could also move over to the right side. Once again, pull onto the watchtower. Nothing to show for it. And you cannot get enough pulls in a game to get all of those abilities out of the way. But Meshi in hot pursuit of Melty, looking for 1, 2 shots. Fires off and gets the kill. And puts the team just 1 star behind Reject.
Pushing forwards now. Hypercharge available for Batman as well. But the Grigo coming in with that shielding. It's going to be a tough thing to handle. Good taps already taking care of it. I like the way that Reject really are really focusing on that. It is going to be a problem otherwise. But this push is in a good spot. Let's be honest. Reject have got just that 1-star lead. So it's only 1 singular takedown the NIWA do need. Gene Pool's available. Cho would like to have the hypercharge, but again, I just feel like 1 magic hand is all you really have to do, but it's got to connect, and that's the issue. That under this kind of pressurized circumstances can be a blunder. Batman knows the right-hand side, spotting Chovy, knows where the problem lies. And again, time not on the side of NIWA. They've got to go, and they've got to go now.
Melty also doesn't have a super, but he's got to be close, and a hypercharge super could change the game. Oh, Chovy flashed the super. He baited the hypercharge, but couldn't get the pull as a result. Melty now in the sky, looking for 1, looking for 2, and secures the set for Reject.
Great stuff for Reject to hold their composure and get it done. I would like to have seen a tied scenario here, but it's not to be, as Reject were able to keep things under control, and I think they did really well in the circumstances. It's moments like that which can go against you, but they were able to keep their cool.
Every time we switched to the Reject player cameras, no one was sweating, no one was even squinting, no one was leaning forward into their phone. That was the most relaxed I've seen a team playing in this competition thus far. Meanwhile, I saw the stress on NIWA. Tell me a little bit more about what you saw there, Ark, because you were diving into the drafts.
You have a brawler that is good on heist and is also just good in the Draco. I mean, you cannot get rid of all the Draco counters here. There are just a few modes that he's good on, and it's only when you get the draft just right. So how is Nita going to navigate here? Usually one of the main things that you would see used against her is something like a thrower. Yeah, she's not able to deal with it. She is an anti-tank. She's naturally, like the archetypes in the game, generally anti-tanks weak into throwers. But I think that she is going to struggle getting her super into the 2 other brawlers of the 3 that NIWA have chosen. Into that Carl, I think it's going to be challenging. Into the Lu, once again, going to be challenging. Could waste a lot of his shots also, just by using that bear. So we'll have to see how it goes. Lane matchup coming out here. Melty just searching for the Draco so he can lock on.
Or is it, you tried to convince me, you tried.
I tried.
You tried and you failed. Yeah, like... There's no way that if I'm foreseeing the graphic of this draft, you could tell me that this was going to be a hot potato draft. Draco, I don't know. I don't see it. But hey, I mean, there's a lot of damage rolling in already as NIWA immediately, as quickly as that. 35 seconds have passed and the game is done. You can't leave a Carl on the safe like that. And this draft immediately backfiring, and you could say in quite a poetic way, no?
Yeah, and quick shout out to NIWA for running the better Draco star power, because usually you would heal from getting in Dragon, but with the other one, you're going to get additional damage. You can mark targets with your shot, and that includes the high save. You know, Bell can't mark the enemy safe, but Draco can for some reason, and they did crazy damage.
That was just wild, absolutely wild. At the moment, Shooter's kind of in a position of not really knowing where to go. Good to go forwards, to go backwards. He needs to obviously earn his super. And meanwhile, look at this already. NIWA just doing an absolute rinse and repeat of this. Again, just a second gadget that Troy's been able to connect onto the safe there as well. Now taken care of, but percent and closing in terms of damage already as the opening cards being laid out there by NIWA. Reject just all over the place.
It's tough, but maybe they'll finally find their footing. Shu in with the grapple onto Lu, chained onto the Carl, but didn't have a stun as a response. We'll see on the home front. Batoman jumping in, does manage to get a stun there. Melty now connecting with that hypercharge bear on the safe. And Mamechi, this is what we called out in the draft, is that Lu's gonna have such a hard time dealing with that bear. We'll see once again, Shu in. It's actually looking to be a much more equal match this time. They have not let Draco punch through like he did in the last one.
Now comes the hypercharge of Shu, and that's a great takedown on the right-hand side there of Chovy. Surely going to fall down 206 HP. And onto the safe now. Damage raining in as now Reject starts to really get the damage dealt and to bring things back into order. There's not much in it, to be honest. It's 20%, and now it's NIWA that are back on the safe. Another heat ejector onto the safe again. And the defense is a bit scatty here from Reject. But on the other side of things, the offense is much better. Melty melts through the safe and gets the game.
Excellently performed by Reject over here. They managed to completely extinguish those issues from last time. Yes, we still see the enemy punching through. We see Carl, I mean, you can't stop his pickaxe, man, unless you're a solid obstacle. He's still going to be getting the gadget on the safe. He's got great positioning. Korea over here was much less of an issue. Check this out, doubling up on the lane, running the gadget to try and stay alive, but doesn't really amount to too much. Chovy allowed to go alone on the enemy safe. Probably not going to be a mistake because he got 3v1. Creo just feeding this super over to Melty, and already look at the damage raining in, but from both teams, it should be noted, Reject safe is collapsing in on itself.
It really isn't. It might just be enough here. The damage is extreme, and NIWA get it just in the nick of time. They get the set, they survive. I thought Reject were going to put the nail in the coffin, then they were on match point. That would have been their ticket to the semi-finals, and it wasn't to be, as NIWA just cling on by the skin of their teeth. That was close, too close, and that might be the moment that Reject live to regret.
You know, guys, I ask you sometimes when the map pool comes up, like, oh, could any of these maps really throw a team? And I know generally all these teams got so much experience on every game mode, on every map. But I have to say, if there's one thing I've noticed, it's that Heist really throws teams in for a mix-up here. Once again, we see NIWA coming out over Reject, the underdog, able to pick it up in this game mode that kind of challenges players to think a little bit differently here. But that's just my assessment. Ready? I want to know if you think this is accurate or you think that's shenanigans.
I think it's a bit of funny business, a bit of shenanigans, hijinks, if you will, because I think that, look, let's not dance around it. Reject are in the driver's seat for this match. They are the projected winners of this matchup, and I think the fact that they didn't run away with that set was really their fault. I think they stayed aggro on that safe. But Buster's gonna have to be really, really good about dealing into this Miko matchup. Also, you're losing the sort of long-range control matchup for a little bit there. So, gosh, I mean, this one's a challenging one to look at. It's not going to be the typical gameplay that we see on this map where you fight the long-range control matchup and then you're all forced in, blah, 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 blah. It's going to be more of, let us identify the matchup and then dive on the most vulnerable opponent.
Yeah, certainly Buster has to remain on his feet. That slow-mo replay gadget is crucial at getting that swift early takedown. The kit connection with the Miko could be quite devastating for NIWA to be able to control. So that really, for me, is going to be something which they've got to separate on the side of NIWA and focus their attention of and not allow to occur, because ultimately, the longer the kit stays away, then the faster that is going to occur. And, you know, at the moment, they're utilizing the idea that they could be using that cardboard box gadget for the invisibility of the kit, but they're actually just sitting back and waiting for that super to be able to be there so that they can connect Shu with Batman now. And Crew's in a world of hurt here in this mid. A lot of damage going down, but actually, it's going to be Melted that comes out short-changed. Now it's 2 versus 2. And now look at that slow to the RT as well. That should be a takedown if they can just combine those throwing ideas with the connections there, but it's actually going to survive. My word. He's still got the legs as well, which is going to be very difficult now for Shu and Batman to do much about to go on the offensive.
It's going to be a challenging one. Batman just trying to use that cardboard box and stay idle to get his super back a little bit faster, hop on Shu's back, and let's just let it rip, see how it goes. Chovy is public enemy #1. Have to take down that base, but cannot do it. Batman left all alone, trying to avoid feeding that hypercharge to Mameshi and just dash into that poison. Feeding his super to Chovy, not really much of a concern. So we saw Janet go down quite early, but it's another worthwhile mention as far as kit pairings, because she's able to take to the sky, and then she just, like, becomes like a super duper dreadnought in the sky. But we'll see once again the emphasis is on that Miko combination. The Meshi not taking too much damage at first. In fact, Creo cleans it up. A disaster for Reject.
super duper dreadnought in the sky, indeed. Melty lands. There's a 3 versus 1. It's not going to be much that he's going to be able to do in this scenario. Realistically here, NIWA will be able to turn all the screws into their favor and take this round surely. And they do. And that's exactly what they do need to do. Get the game in the pocket against a team like Reject. This is now some serious momentum, Brody. Over to NIWA. It's kind of escalating a little bit out of control, dare I say. And Reject have got to start to bring things back into order. You know, it really is not looking great. We haven't seen them really kind of bring back that, you know, they're not really revitalizing themselves too much along the way. And I think this is a really daring comp. But at the moment, they're just not playing it effectively enough. Because a Kit and a Miko shouldn't really be losing this scenario, in my opinion, especially with the Janet as well. Like you rightly say, that pairing works across the board.
Yeah, but see, the thing is, it only works when she has super, and she didn't even get a single super in the last round. Now, we'll have to pay attention to how this is like a tough matchup for her. Buster's not going to be giving her anything. Chovy outranges her. Mameshi's going to be staying behind a wall. Just really challenging for this Janet into those specific matchups, and Creo's not even gonna fight you, man. So we'll see if Battleman tries to enable this, maybe jump on Melty to get him a super at least. Nope, emphasis on Miko. Once again, they're gonna give it another shot. Didn't work the last couple times in a row, but into Mameshi, you just gotta line up those shots. In comes Creo with the super, taken down by the combo. Give Melty a chance to get a super, excellently maneuvered by the other 2 members of the Reject squad, and Chovy, she'll be the last to fall. Battleman gotta be close to that next super. Pretty much almost the best way that this could have turned out for Reject in round 1.
Yeah, honestly, it's a beautiful gadget. Just ensuring that they could get that slow effect with the clipping scream and just then follow up with the beautiful Kit. Wall shots. Now Melt takes to the skies as well, getting some good damage on that right-hand side. Now coming back. Little of a glimpse onto Chovy there, but nothing too strenuous. It's Mameshi's the lowest here, and the Berry Heel's forced out then. A nice slow-mo replay from Creo does make Reject second-guess that right-hand side just a little bit more. I think both sides are going to come back a little bit and play defensively now, but there is a hypercharge from Melty, and that's something that can be absolutely devastating on the arsenal there of Reject.
This is best case scenario for Reject. They managed to get a hyper on one of the strongest hypers in the game. Batman now going to opt for the other combination. The Dreadnought is in the sky, but where does the Eagle land? There's one on the Mameshi. Chovy closing things in. No escape mechanism, except if you chain another super together. Creo, the last one standing for NIWA. Shu going in for the kill and secures it. NIWA so close to pushing us to a set 5. We put against the ropes with a match point from Reject.
What a cycle. What a cycle. Because
yes,
if that hadn't have been the case, like you were saying, where are they going to land? Well, they landed in a terrible spot. They really did. That was not the place to land. And they would never have been able to get out of that certain peril if they hadn't have cycled in the way that they did there. So honestly, very, very close stuff, but incredible plays from Reject. Very deserving there of that game and a match point scenario now. If they can just get 2 rounds in the pocket, they'll proceed to the semi-finals. NIWA now got a lot of pressure on their shoulders and already looking bleak and weary.
Okay, Shu jumping out, looking for the mid control, which NIWA, they've just pretty much surrendered it. They went so aggro with Creo and Mameshi that they no longer have mid. We'll see a kill onto RT to start things off, healing on the ground from Mameshi and Creo to stay alive. Managed to secure a kill onto that Kit, which leaves Shu sort of out to dry. Not too much for him to do. If he goes in aggro, he's only really going to get, what, 4 shots there? As long as he steals one away from Mameshi and Creo. He's giving it his best shot, but he's only able to jump in and jump out. His best bet at this point is to get a super.
Now, Chris just used his shielding there, which he won't have for a while. But nonetheless, not sure how much good it's going to do. Only really against the Janet. So this Berry Heels from Mameshi have got to come in really nicely here. They're going to be able to survive this scenario. He's got hypercharge and super as well. He's going to go on the aggressive. Gets 1, gets 2. Mameshi stays standing and keeps NIWA in the question.
1 round away for some front runners of this region to be taken all the way by NIWA, a team that played upset in the qualifiers already. Well, we're seeing already Reject looking to posture themselves. Battleman's ready to combo with Shu if necessary. Shu is a bit apprehensive about jumping in, especially into a team with so much utility. Mameshi, gotta be just a couple of shots off of getting that hypercharge super laid down, and that's going to be the win condition in mid. It's a very uncomfortable situation for Reject right now. They're going to give it their best, already going aggro on the left side and jumping out as soon as there's too much pressure.
Especially having hypercharge in this utility here in this scenario is such a great thing to happen. He's got to use it, and he does. He gets fine. Oh, look at that! Everyone falls immediately! NIWA managed to secure the set and go over to the 5th and final. And now, Reject are in banging trouble here, ready set. We've just seen progressively NIWA come out of nowhere. And now I'm really regretting my prediction.
Man, this is so wild, but you had it right on the nose, Ark. I mean, this was at minimum going to be a close match. Check out Mameshi over here. 9 kills for the guy. In Reject, they tried the cheese man, but that Janet was just about the toughest thing for them here because they could not get her a super.
NIWA. You know, Ark, like, when you were breaking it down, I was like, well, you just joined the correct side. I didn't realize how close it was when you were explaining this analysis, how measured you were in exactly choosing this. And I'm sorry that you feel regret, but I do believe, based on what we've seen, Reject has what they need to do to cover this last hurdle.
Pick it, and then you make the Juju call because she snuck through the draft long enough, and then there's Stu to finish things off. So Stu, his DPS, not going to be really the answer to Frank. That's what B is going to be accomplishing here, but as you mentioned, Ark, we got to see some wall break. So that is one of the primary functions that Stu is going to fulfill here. If Frank doesn't already do the job for him. Hopefully he's able to keep his distance also from Melody, act as an anti-Melody measure into the Juju. Also get some like good aggression. You're able to dash away from those shots that are usually really accurate because they got like a good AoE. You can auto aim them, they hit the ground pretty fast. This is going to be challenging. I mean, Reject, I think, really clearly had a vision where they're like, let's get that Frank, and if they pick it, then we're going to have some kind of countermeasure to it. So if you're banking on a Reject win, you're going to have to trust in this process that Stu was what they needed to deal with Frank.
I mean, it's not just Stu, it's Stu with Shu. Like, that's the thing, and that to me makes me very excited. And, you know, he's to be able to farm off the Frank, dash around. I think that might have been the thing to make me feel much more confident with Reject's ability to control this situation. And with that, they clear house. NIWA are on the floor, and Reject are on the zone. Almost approaching now 50%, and this is honestly a very good starting hand. Good value. Batsman already has the hypercharge and the heals coming in now as well, and Kriya's low, and Meshi's low as well. Behind this, the hypercharge there of Shu coming in. He might be able to get what he does, but Chovy now is going to be the final boss on that zone, and both of them trying to contest it.
My goodness, every time Chovy fires off a shot, Shu is out of that line of sight. Creo taken down, Mameshi the next up on the menu, but Juju is here for the appetizer, trying to trap Shu on the right side. Not quite successful as he heals with every single super, and Creo in for a last-ditch effort. A hypercharge that amounts to nothing except for some zoning, but he's got to know that he's feeding more and more hypercharges to Battleman, who's just gotten his second of the game. That's tough to do with Poco, by the way. Chovy taken down by Melty, and Shu going in to finish things off with a hypercharge. Not even going to get stunned by Creo. We know which way this one's going. It's Reject, leading us to a match point again.
Who would have thought that we would see Reject fight back like this in the final hour after continuously losing in this series to their opposition? They finally managed to muster something up, and it's working. But will we see some resolve? Can NIWA bring us to a match point? Because that's what I want to see. But can they do it? At the moment, this Stu pick really has shone through and given Reject a bit of space to work and maneuver with, and they're already on the zone at the beginning as well, getting some early Poco heals in. NIWA taking their time on this. They're not going to go on the aggressive too soon. That was a clutch catch it there in the mid there. Honestly, that kept the Melody in the conversation, but only Justin. NIWA looking a bit sheepish and not getting on the zone. They've got to go a little bit aggressive here.
Oh man. Battleman taken down. Melty
Nice.
Also eliminated by Mameshi, who's been tearing up the right side. though he's faced a bit of that, tearing up of the grass and the obstacles from Shu, who's eliminated a key position for him. There are more walls that he can hide behind. Not one in front of Creo, though. Here comes the hypercharged super in from Poco on the left side. Chovy's forced to retreat. You see Creo and Meshi now trying to come in for the flank. Battle Man survives for a while under the hyper melody, but cannot do it all the way. No stun there from Creo, but he does get control on this point. NIWA are still trailing, though. Creo's being much more careful this time about feeding these supers and hypercharges to Battleman, but this is only going to last so long. Chovy trying also to do his job, but taken down by Melty for the two-piece in close range.
That's what you want to see if you're rejects. That was looking like a very, very bad time on that spawn side, but they came out smelling of roses. And now the hypercharge from Shu, look at the amount of healing that man is bringing in. And Batman on the right-hand side gets some tremendous amount of splash. They're staying firm on his own. 10% and Creo can't even get tested. He's got to heal up, and that will be it. NIWA failed at the final hurdle, and rejects survived. They go through to the semi-finals.
They pull it together in the end. Nice little garnish there from Reject. And I gotta, give compliments to the chef. Whoever cooked up this draft did a great job. I feel like the only solution to this was, before we even moved into the pick phase, just ban the Poco. Because once the Poco and B is here, then what are really your responses? Well, they're gonna go Frank. So do I run something anti-Frank? Can I run anti-tank into this B? Not like as successfully, so I gotta pick it. But then I'm feeding the stuff to the Poco and I'm weak to the B. Reject checkmated them.
Well, Reddy, we got your assessment of the draft. I'm glad to hear it's positive, but Ark, we've been turning to you time and again to hear what you think of the draft. Did they pull it together for this one? Were they able to execute, in your opinion?
Really like the Poker pick. I love the Stu pick. I think that for me is the brawler which, if you can bring in a hot zone, it can really be a problem, because if you're just dashing around constantly healing up along the way, you're playing the objective better than anyone. And if you're able to stay standing, Shu is a tremendous Stu as well. Like, in this region, he's renowned for it. And against the Frank, where you can really kind of like just continuously earn that super, you're not really necessarily going to deal the most amount of damage to the Frank, but your job is to really just be present in the moment, and that's going to in turn bring the objective. Definitely some moments where Rejects looked a little bit shaky, and there was definitely an opening that NIWA could have exploited a bit better than they actually did. But they did far better than I expected. To get to the fifth and final set, I think for many was not on their bingo card today. So you got to hand it to NIWA. That was the match that I said could have been actually a bit closer than many of us were actually thinking. We looked very united in our predictions, but that was the one that I had some reservations on. And it served to be as exciting as it was. We're still not done yet for the quarterfinals. You got to remember that we got Zeta Division up next versus Team S2, and I cannot wait to see Zeta Division back in their home region for all intents and purposes, because this is where they've had the most success in the BSC in terms of those world championship belts and trophies. So can they make another one to add to the list? That's the question.
I couldn't have teed it up better myself, Ark. Thank you. When we come back from this quick break, we've got that very last match of our quarterfinals today. And we're getting into the semis and finals. Lots of exciting Brawl Stars left. We'll see you in a sec.